Hello everyone, and welcome to our lesson on identifying parallel, perpendicular, and skew lines. We will also discuss when lines are just intersecting. Our warm-up question today is, what is a goal that you have for the new year? So comment your answer below, or if you're in class, share with someone around you. All right, so what are parallel lines? Parallel lines never cross. So they never ever cross, and they face the same direction. Another way to say that they face the same direction is that they're in the same plane, meaning I could put a rectangle around them and they're on the same rectangle. They're on the same sheet of paper, they're in the same plane. So they're going to be marked with either triangles or arrows to show that they're parallel. So these little markings here show that these are parallel. Sometimes they might also be filled in as triangles. That also means that they're parallel. And the symbol for parallel looks like this. It just shows that they never ever cross and they're facing the same way. That little symbol means parallel. So some examples of parallel for you. Let's say what lines are parallel to each other. I see that each of these lines facing the same way, this yellow one and this yellow one face the same direction. So I would say that line AB is parallel to line CD. And how did I know that? Well, they both have one little arrow marking on each, showing that they face the same direction so they never cross. But I also know that these two are parallel because they have the two markings. Let me circle that for you. The two arrow markings show that these are parallel. So line AC is also parallel to line BD, meaning that they never ever touch each other. They go on forever in infinite directions and they never ever cross. They never intersect. Okay, so which lines are parallel in this picture? Line A and line B. They face the same direction and they never ever cross. So you'd say that line A is parallel to line B because of these markings right here. Okay, we go to this triangle, and on this triangle I see two triangles here and two triangle marks here, showing that these two lines face the same direction in these triangles. So line BC is parallel to line DE. Okay, and then last but not least, I wanted y'all to see it on a plane. So we would say that this plane Q, is facing the same direction as plane R. And what we would look for, if we wanted to know this for sure, is little triangle marks. Let me see if I can mark those real quick for y'all. A little triangle mark on these lines shows that these would never ever cross. So we'd say plane Q is parallel to plane R. So you're looking for those triangles to guarantee that. Okay? So those are parallel examples. Now let's look at what perpendicular means. Perpendicular lines do cross, and they cross at a 90-degree angle. They cross at a 90-degree angle. Remember, when we're looking for a 90-degree angle, it's that right angle box. It means it's 90 degrees, like what we've talked about before. So they're going to be marked with a right angle or 90-degree symbol, and the symbol for perpendicular is going to be this. It's an upside-down T. Sometimes people will even put like a right angle box there just to show you that those are perpendicular at 90 degrees. So these two lines are perpendicular to each other. So if I were to call this one line Q and call this one line R, you would say that line Q is definitely perpendicular to line R. And how do we know that? Because of that right angle box right there. Those cross each other, they intersect, and they intersect at 90 degrees. So let's look at some perpendicular examples. This red line, let me see if I can highlight. This red line right here is perpendicular to this blue line. How do I know? Because it has those markings where they cross. They cross at 90 degrees. Okay. These next two lines, XY would be perpendicular to AB. XY is perpendicular to AB. How do I know that? Because of that 90-degree marking right there. Those cross, and they cross each other at 90. All right, these planes are going to be perpendicular to each other as well. Plane N is going to be perpendicular to plane M. How do we know that? Well, we know that because plane N is this plane right here. It's that rectangle that is crossing that other plane, this blue one right here, and it's crossing at a 90-degree angle. What am I looking for? I look for that box right there to show that those are perpendicular where they cross. Okay, and then last but not least, AB, line AB is going to be, not parallel, but perpendicular to CO. And those are perpendicular not only because of the right angle box, but because it says 90 here. So either one of those would be totally fine to say that those are perpendicular. So what does it mean to be skew? What are skew lines? Skew lines never cross, so that's similar to parallel, but instead of facing the same direction, they're going to face different directions. So this blue line will never ever cross this pink line, but they're facing different directions. They're on different planes. So you could not put those in the same rectangle or on the same sheet of paper. Those are on totally different planes. The blue line is happening above the pink line and facing a different direction, so those are skew. So let's look at some examples of skew. Skew is when they're on different planes, and so they're facing a different direction, but they're never ever going to cross. So there's space in between those. Here are some skew lines on a plane. This gray would never ever cross this green. Those are on different planes, so the green is happening behind. If I were to extend that line, it'd be a dotted line because it's happening behind. And then what are some skew lines in this picture? We would say that AC, line AC, this one that I'm going to put in blue. Hold on one second, let me highlight that. AC would be skew to EF is skew to EF because AC would be happening behind this yellow line. So I show that it's dotted just to show that it's happening behind. There is no symbol that we have easily figured out for skew, so we just write is skew to. So what are intersecting lines? Intersecting lines do cross, and they cross at any angle at a point. So technically, perpendicular lines are also intersecting. Those just cross at 90. Intersecting lines cross at any angle. And they cross at a point every single time. And we call that point the point of intersection. It's where they cross. It's kind of like when two roads cross. If you're driving and you have an intersection, it's where those two roads cross. It's where you have to wait at a stoplight or a stop sign so that people do not hit each other in the intersection. Okay? So intersecting lines examples. These two lines intersect at point P. These three lines, A, B, and C, all intersect at a point. So more than one line can intersect at a point. And then these two planes intersect, and it looks like these two planes intersect at line M. So you can have intersecting planes as well that don't necessarily cross at 90. So now it tells us in this next slide to say whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, skew, or intersecting. So if it says perpendicular, obviously it will also be intersecting. So what about line SQ and MP? Let's highlight those. SQ is here, MP is here. Now it doesn't have the markings, so we're going to add them so that we can actually assume this. Those would be parallel. They face the same direction and they never cross. Okay? So what about QU, line QU and QR? Well, let's go highlight this in the picture. QU and QR. Here's QR. Those do cross, so not only are they intersecting for sure, so intersecting, because they do cross at a point, but also that point crosses at 90 degrees. So they're intersecting, and since they cross at 90, they're going to be perpendicular to each other. Perpendicular. So again, let's keep going. SQ, and now MJ. So here is SQ. Here is MJ. Those do not cross because they're on different planes. There's some space in between them, but they're not facing the same direction. So those will be skew. They're not parallel because JM is facing this way, and then SQ is facing up and down. So those are skew. What about QU? QU is this one, and QT. Here's QT. Ooh, those do cross. Those are crossing at a point, point Q. And what we're going to look at is the fact that those are going to be, so QU and QT, because this is 90, we can deduce that this is 90. and we do not have any markings necessarily, so this one is tricky. What we're going to say for now is that these are intersecting. They do intersect at a point, and that point is point Q. We can add a 90-degree angle here and here and here. We do not necessarily know that those are crossing at 90 degrees. So for now, I'm just going to say intersecting. We would need to have more information. All right, last two, line Z and line X. Are those parallel, perpendicular, skew, or intersecting only? These do cross, and where do they cross? They cross right here at a point, so I know for sure that they're intersecting. The next question is, well, are they intersecting at 90 degrees? And yes, there is a 90-degree angle there. So since that is 90, I also get to say that they are perpendicular. Okay. Same picture, same exact picture, but I want to know about line X. Hold on, let me undo that. Line X and line Y. Okay, if they didn't have the markings, we wouldn't be able to say, but because this has a triangle and this has the same triangle, that means that those two lines are going to be parallel, which means that they face the same way and they're never going to touch. So y'all are going to practice this on IXL. I hope you've had a great day and a great break.